Thank you, everyone, for joining us this afternoon for the Offshore Wealth Group Blueprint, where we're going to be talking about St. Kitts and Nevis citizenship by investment via the real estate option. Thank you all for being on time, and I still see people joining, but they will join us. So, who are we? Who is Rock Citizenship? We are a global mobility advisory company. We specialize in citizenship and residency via investment. We do this via the Caribbean programs, which you'll get to learn is direct citizenship. And we also do the European programs, which essentially is a residency. And we assist clients with international expansion. Who am I? My name is Lisa Thompson, and I am originally from the Caribbean. I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. I've been in Dubai for about 19 years now, and I founded Rock Citizenship. I'm the managing partner of Rock Citizenship as well. And we are a firm that will guide clients through complex citizenships or simple citizenships because there are both. Our core services are, of course, residency and citizenship by investment services. And as I said before, we do both the Caribbean and Europe. People want freedom, they want lifestyle. All of these things we assist with. We assist with business, global expansion in the UAE, Canada, US, France, and all of Europe. This allows people to grow and scale their businesses. Today, particularly, we'll be talking about the real estate investments in St. Kitts and Nevis, but we also do real estate investments in the USA, in the UAE, where I am right now, Canada, and the US. Our track record, years in the industry. Rock Citizenship is actually about 8 years old. However, I have been in this industry for about 15 years. We have senior advisors who have been in the industry for a longer time than I have been. Half of our senior advisors are IMA registered and IMA qualified. So that's a big deal within the industry. We have done maybe 200 applications successfully over many, many jurisdictions throughout the years. And as I said before, we're recognized, we're certified, and the clients in Nigeria, so we have an office in Nigeria, and we are strategically placed there because we help them grow, we help them go globally. I'll pass you over to our the branch manager in Nigeria, Daniel.
All right, thank you so much, Lisa. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Good morning. I assume that it's Nigerians, Kenyans, maybe Ghanaians here, so it's 11:06 in Nigeria. If it's afternoon where you are, good afternoon to you as well. My name is Daniel, and we're in for an amazing ride. I'm the branch manager, as Lisa said, at Nigeria's branch, Rock Citizenship, where I work closely with my advisory team, and we do this for high net worth families in Nigeria and across Africa, positioning them globally with mobility solutions. Now, I'm going to just show you a little bit about the company, and then we'll go into St. Kitts. So we have our advisory team in Nigeria, Christine and Tunde, who might have contacted you before this webinar and would contact you after the webinar. So we have our global presence in Dubai, the US, in Canada, in Nigeria, where we are, in Ghana, and in Egypt. When we speak about citizenship by investment, what we mean is an acquisition of a second passport or a second economic nationality through qualifying investment. What it typically means is you invest into a country and then you get the passport of that country. And the reason we do this is because, not we do this, but the reason this is something of worth is because the passport you hold in this time and age determines your access, determines how much you can grow your business, and it determines the lifestyle you create for yourself and for your family. The Nigerian passport, for example, gives you access to a few countries. An American passport gives you access to more countries. Now, available countries that offer the CBI, that citizenship by investment, are more than 5, but the big 5 that I'm going to list out will be St. Kitts and Nevis, Dominica, St. Lucia, Antigua and Barbuda, and Grenada. But today we'll be focusing on St. Kitts and Nevis. Now, eligibility requirement for this particular program, which is citizenship by investment, would start with that you have to be 18 years old and over. Good health, no criminal record. You must pass the mandatory interview for the main applicant and dependents that are 16 years and over. Of course, this interview is virtual, so you have nothing to fear. Successfully, pass the interview and then the due diligence checks. You receive your approval by the government, and then when you're approved by the government, you make your investment into that country, and then you get your passport. Pretty simple. The 4 major advantages of citizenship by investment for high net worth families. The first is global access. I was speaking to Lisa yesterday, and I told her about a client that reached out to me, and one of the issues he had was he wanted to travel from Pakistan to China, I think, and he wanted to meet up with a business meeting, and he couldn't go there because of his passport. He's a Nigerian, and he had to come back to Nigeria, go through the embassy and the immigration, everything, the whole process. And by the time he was done to travel to China, that particular meeting or business opportunity that he wanted to attain at that point was gone. And that's some of the things that we face. You want to attend a child's graduation. My brother, for example, is getting married in August in the US. Family members that don't possess a passport that can go to the US would have to start trying to apply. If they don't get it, they miss that wedding. So whether it's a business meeting or a family get-together or something very phenomenal that you want to be part of, global mobility is essential. And when you have a second passport, you have access to countries around the world at the click of your finger, so you don't have to think about it. All you have to do is purchase a ticket and you're out. The second thing is the secure jurisdiction. As we all know, many things are happening around the world. The alternative jurisdiction for wealth, family, and contingency is something that is premium, because at any point in time, something could happen in the country you're in, whether relating to finance or security, and it's very important to have that backup. Also, lifestyle options. These countries that you have access to, particularly St. Kitts, because St. Kitts gives you access to the UK, the entire Schengen zones, and some key destinations in Asia. These countries that you have access to has premium healthcare, education, and lifestyle. And then succession for your family, because you have the ability to add dependents. Of course, we'll see that. Succession for your family. Now, also there's privacy and safety. I think I was speaking to John, that's the president of the Royal St. Kitts Hotel. He's going to come up in a minute to explain this in detail, but he has a passport in St. Kitts, he has a passport in the UK as well, and he has multiple passports for privacy and security and safety, because as a billionaire, you have multiple businesses and you want to ensure that some jurisdictions ask for certain details. You want to ensure that some of these details are in a particular jurisdiction where the government can't pry. But John will tell us a little bit more about that. So it's very key to have a second passport in the times that we're in. Now, the question becomes, why St. Kitts? I've told you that we have many pathways. We have the donation route, we have the bond route, we have several countries, Dominica, we have Antigua and Barbuda. The question becomes, why St. Kitts, which is why we're here today. Do you know that St. Kitts is the premium CBI choice? What it means is its prestige is almost unmatched, because it's one of the first that started since, I think St. Kitts started in 1984, if I'm not mistaken, 1984. And this, not only have they started for a long time, it's such a country that adheres to every single thing that the European Union or the UN requests for. So there are many things now that in the CBI industry are required of countries. St. Kitts ensures that these requirements are met. by the letter. So it makes it a premium choice. Like I said before, you have extensive global access. So as much as 150 countries. Imagine having access to 150 countries at the snap of your finger. So including the UK, the Europe, key Asian destination, and CARICOM countries. So you can go to St. Kitts, Grenada, Barbuda, and Antigua. You can go to the UK, you can go to Italy, France, Spain, just name it. You can go to China, Hong Kong. Now, these countries you're going into, it's visa-free. So the hassle is completely taken away. And then you can add your parents, you can add your children, parents above 55 years, you can add your children and your spouse. So it's not just you. It's an investment for yourself and for your generation. I made a joke on Tuesday when we had an event at the hotels, and I said that in this time and age, for Nigerians listening to me, you will understand when I say this, that we speak about generational curses and changing your generation. And I made a joke and I said, in this time and age, you don't break generational curses by prayers alone, you break it by a good passport. So when you have a good passport, everything about your lineage changes completely. I for one, I'm one that has benefited from global mobility. I schooled in the UK for the best part of my time. I have a certificate with Harvard Business School, and I know the opportunities that it has created for me. And I know that if your parents listening to me or a businessman listening to me, you want this opportunity for yourself and for your children. There's trusted due diligence. So what it means is if you apply through St. Kitts and get your second passport, every country in the world that you travel to that is visa-free to a St. Kitts citizen, it's visa-free to you as well. So no hassle. There's no time where you would, have to check in with us and say, I tried to contact this country, but I was rejected. It's visa-free, it's clean, it's easy, and it's prestigious. And of course, the real estate benefits. You don't just apply and get your passport. You can get return on investment. But when we talk about return on investment, I'll allow John to, to deal with that when it comes on. He'll let you know the beauty of St. Kitts. He'll let you know the beauty of the program, and not just the program, but the particular hotel that he'll be speaking about. He's the president of the hotel. So we'll go straight into it. I'm going to welcome John Zuliani, the president of the Royal St. Kitts Hotel. John is ready to take us on this journey. He's established in this industry, has a resort development all over town. He's vast in knowledge when it comes to citizenship by investment, and especially regarding St. Kitts and Nevis. So, John, take it away.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Daniel. I appreciate it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I generally like to start by just giving a bit of history of myself, and then I'll dive into my PowerPoint presentation. Essentially, I'm a little unique. I didn't quite realize how lucky I was growing up, but my mother is from England, so I'm British. My father's from Italy, so I'm Italian. I was born in Canada, so I'm Canadian. I was naturalized in St. Kitts because I grew up in St. Kitts, and I've been working and living in St. Kitts for the last 20 years. So I have to say, I sell what I sell is what I do and what I live. So I use my St. Kitts passport, as you said, for everything: traveling, banking, company structures, ownerships, trusts, anything that I pretty much do, I really do with my St. Kitts citizenship. So the options are kind of limitless. My family owns the Royal St. Kitts Hotel. My father started it or bought it in 1983. To give you a little history of my father, he was an Italian who immigrated to Canada with nothing to his name, made his money in the construction industry, then became a developer. Unfortunately, he was a true Italian and smoked 2 packs a day and ate a little too much. So he had his first heart attack at the age of 40. His doctor said, you need to retire and slow down. And his dentist, who he golfed with every day, was from St. Kitts and said, you need to come see my island. So he came to St. Kitts. He told me after golfing every day for 3 months, he was so bored, he was ready to buy the San Francisco Bridge. And he ended up buying the Royal St. Kitts Hotel in 1982. This was a very unique time in the country's history because St. Kitts went independent from the UK in September of 1983. Prior to that, it was part of the UK and produced sugar cane that we would send back to the UK. Once it went independent in September of 1983, became 100% focused on tourism. So it's easy to say my father left some very large shoes to fill as one of the only hoteliers for like almost 10 years in the country's start and beginning of its tourism focus. My father ended up passing away about 10 years ago, and the government was kind enough to donate a roundabout as you drive into the tourism sector of the country. And before he died, he told me he was always going to have his eyes on me. So I built this statue of him overlooking the hotel. So I kind of know he's always watching us. Everyone leaving Frigate Bay sees a nice big sign saying, "Thank you for visiting Frigate Bay in honor of Archie Zuliani, a pioneer of the tourism industry." My son now is 5 years old, who I've named Archie Zuliani after my father. He originally bought a small hotel, about 70 rooms, back in the early 1983. And then he expanded the hotel quite drastically in the 80s and the 90s up to just over 282 hotel rooms. He operated a 3-star hotel. I moved down in 2007 when he was having health issues and kind of took over the operation. I realized St. Kitts was going in a bit of a higher end direction than it was previously. I like to explain that we fall right in between kind of St. Bart's and St. Martin. St. Bart's being extremely high end and ritzy, St. Martin being a little more marketed to the masses. St. Kitts falls right in the middle where you kind of have a bit of both. I engaged in a $30 million renovation where I gutted the entire hotel. I converted 282 hotel rooms down to 224 condominium units. Some units were amalgamated to make 2 bedrooms and 1-bedroom units. We started selling these units for between 400 and 550,000 back in 2012. We helped our first family obtain citizenship, and we've helped hundreds of families obtain citizenship since then. So we got a lot of experience from the real estate by investment side under our belt. These projects were so successful, every couple of years, I would just kind of embark and do a new project. We were the first developer to do a commercial shopping plaza that is also approved for economic citizenship. There's a grocery store here that villa guests can drive their golf cart to grocery shop, or you can order room service. We really give that flexibility to clients. We have over 7 different restaurants on property. There's a Hard Rock Cafe in our plaza, a beautiful breakfast place, sweet and savory, a great Indian restaurant, a pharmacy, everything you'd expect in your standard commercial development. From there, we kind of moved on to the Cove development, which was 12 luxury units right beside one of our pools. That also sold out. We did very well. Then we moved on to Royal Plaza 2, which is a 2-story office building right beside Royal Plaza 1, just over the 8,000 square feet of more commercial units that also did very well. That kind of led us up to the pandemic in 2021, where we embarked and built 6 Royal Villas. This really shows what separates us from other developers. Not only were we the only hotel that didn't close our doors and lay off our staff during the pandemic, which every other hotel in St. Kitts did, we stayed open, and I actually ended up hiring an additional 300 construction workers, and we took advantage of the quiet time during the pandemic and built 6 villas. So I do believe right now we're the only developer with a built product out there that guests can actually stay in and purchase. Daniel will tell you more about the specific offer that we're offering, but anyone on this webinar would like to come down to St. Kitts once they sign up with Rock, you'd be more than welcome to spend a weekend in the villa, try it out, touch and feel the villa that you're considering buying. We'll take you out I also have a boat charter company, and we'll take you for an island tour, take you to dinner, show you what life in St. Kitts is all about with myself and my family. So currently we're offering a 130 timeshare into one of our villas for $325,000. This entitles you to 12 days a year usage. We're very flexible when it comes to usage. We don't sell specific weeks. You're purchasing an equity in the villa, and you're receiving full title deed, an MOT and a certificate of title, just as if you were buying a property. If you don't want to use your 12 days a year, you could put your 12 days into our rental pool. We have a history of around 75% occupancy. We rent these villas out for between $1,000 off season and $2,000 in season, so an average of $1,500 a night. If you take a 75% occupancy at 9 nights, that's a gross of $13,500. We have an 11% management fee. which has only gone up from 10% to 11% over the last over 10-year period. So we don't increase this management fee often at all. Each villa costs $1,200 a year to the owner for maintenance, housekeeping. Basically, for me to maintain this villa is a 5-star standard, which includes replacing the bed sheets, linens every year, insurance, electricity. We try to really be a turnkey service so there's no headaches or frustrations that come along with normal real estate ownership. Basically, putting your unit in the rental pool, you could earn roughly a 3% return. You have to hold ownership for 7 years before you can resell your unit because you qualified for citizenship through the purchase of your real estate. So you're looking at a potential of $75,700 in rental income over the 7-year period. Option 2 is a little more simple. If you're not planning on coming to St. Kitts, I'm basically willing to rent your unit back from you for $40,000. And then that way, the difference, I do this to show my confidence in my ability to rent the unit out. But then the difference between what the unit makes and what I paid you, the difference would then become mine. With this option, we also offer a 30-night complimentary stay if the residency requirement that the government has announced comes into play. To summarize that a little more in depth, basically everyone in the application is going to have to do a 5-night stay within the first 12 months. After that, one person from the family that goes through the application is going to have to do an additional 25 nights within the country. They can do it all consistently on their first trip, or they can come back multiple times to do that. At the end of 7 years, you qualify to resell your unit for $325,000. So essentially, you could be getting citizenship for free, except for the cost of money when it comes to this, as opposed to making a donation of $200,000 to the government. Why St. Kitts over other Caribbean islands? Well, only St. Kitts and Antigua really are the ones with 0% income tax. St. Kitts is the oldest, longest running CBI program. St. Kitts is one of the few countries where your citizenship is actually generational. So you can, if your kids go through the application with you and they have kids in the future, they will qualify, unlike Antigua or St. Lucia, where it's only the people who apply for the application qualify to get citizenship. So I like to say, unlike these other CBI countries, St. Kitts actually treats you as an equal citizen once you obtain citizenship. There's no difference between a naturally born Kittian and somebody who invests in the CBI program. St. Kitts is very crypto friendly. We have a lot of crypto OGs that have kind of come to St. Kitts and called it home and set up their corporate structures here. And the new leadership at the CIU has been processing extremely efficiently, which is very refreshing for us in the industry because when it comes to the real estate side, we sign a purchase and sale agreement and ask for a 10% deposit, which is fully refundable if you're denied citizenship for any reason. So we're not making any money or making any sales unless you're approved at the end of the day. So all of our interests align quite simply. Another reason why buying real estate over the donation is very crucial or beneficial is because you get an actual property tax bill. Unfortunately, in St. Kitts, there's no personal income tax. So you can't get a tax ID number if you don't own property tax because you don't pay any tax if you don't own property. So if you do the donation, you don't have an address to be able to get a driver's license. You don't have a tax ID. You have to open a company to get a social security ID. But basically, these are all things that we can help you with and help just get supporting documents to go along with your new passport once you've been approved by the Citizenship by Investment Unit. I'd like to jump now just to kind of show you what one of our villas looks like. It's a quick 30 second. And then as I mentioned, I also have a small boat charter business. which will take you out complimentary if you come down and visit, or you can. And then that's pretty much it. I'd like to open it up to any questions that you guys may have and hand it back over to Rock Citizenship.
Thank you very much, John. What we'll do now is I'll speak about a little about, thank you for that presentation, John. I will speak a little about what John said about the offer he's given. So everyone that has seen the presentation that John has given and decides that he or she wants to be part of this, wants to invest in St. Kitts, John is offering a 4-day complimentary stay at St. Kitts, which is very generous. Thank you so much, John. Very generous of you to offer that. So what this entails is, for those that would be interested in purchasing a villa with John, that's for citizenship by investment, you get a 4-day stay at St. Kitts. Now, the things that are inclusive in this 4-day stay, number one, when you arrive at the airport, John will be picking you up. And John, if I see anything that is outside what you're offering, please stop me, all right? So I don't promise more than you're going to offer. All right.
Of course, of course.
When you, John has said he's going to be picking you up in a Porsche to your villa, 3-bedroom villa with pool, 3-bedroom villa, and he is also offered to give you a tour of the island in his boat. So you're going to get a private boat charter that will take you around. And then we've also added a business syndicate. So we're going to have a business training for leaders, business leaders that are going to be part of this. It's going to be amazing. I mean, 4 days in St. Kitts, beautiful. You can see the background, John's background and Lisa's background. You can see the beauty that St. Kitts already offers. It's one of the islands that, you know, you don't want to leave when you eventually arrive there. And this offer would be for those that would decide to be Rock's client. So after now, if you say, I want to be part of this, I want to invest in St. Kitts, I want to obtain my citizenship by investment program with Rock Citizenship, we would contact you, then you sign an agreement with us. After signing the agreement with us and then going forward with our engagement, we tell John, this is the list of people that have signed up with us and are willing to go forward with purchasing part of the property at St. Kitts. You go to St. Kitts and then the rest will be taken care of by John. Now, I must say this, that this offer ends on the 24th of April, which means it's not an unlimited offer. It's from now to the 24th of April. So anyone that wants to register or to sign up for this to acquire a second citizenship or a second passport through the St. Kitts and Nevis real estate pathway should reach out to us immediately. Like I said, it's curated for Rock client evaluating the destination firsthand. Thank you very much, John, for that presentation. Right now, I'm going to hand it over to Lisa as we have a few questions that are coming in. I'm going to just stop sharing my screen and we'll take a few questions if that's all right with you, Lisa.
Yes, of course. Thank you for that presentation, John. Very insightful. And one more thing I'd like to add as well, as John has spoken about the multiple passports. All of my kids have multiple passports, and it has been so beneficial so beneficial and makes life so easy. It's a gift to them, really. It's really a gift again. So, the first question, what is the minimum investment for the Royal St. Kitts hotel options, John?
So the
And
minimum investment is 325,000 for 1/30th equity in one of our villas, which is full title deed, just like if you were buying a full ownership condo unit or property or home here in St. Kitts, but you're essentially purchasing 12 days a year through your freehold title.
okay, great. And I see another question coming in. It says, do I have to stay in St. Kitts after obtaining the passport?
So currently the answer is no, but the government has announced that it plans on implementing a 30-day residency requirement. The way the 30-day residency requirement would work is everybody in the application, so if it was a husband, wife, and 2 kids, they would all have to come to St. Kitts for 5 days within the first year. And then one person from the family, so if the husband and wife have to go back to work and they have a 20-year-old kid that could stay and do the other 25 days, that qualifies the 30-day residency from what the Attorney General has read in Parliament, but we don't know until it's actually implemented, to be transparent.
Let me check. There are other questions. Do I have to travel to St. Kitts? So I can answer that easily. No, you don't. We at Rock, we handle most of our clients are not here in Dubai. Most of our clients are actually in Nigeria. And no, you do not need to travel. Everything is done remotely. So, okay,
All right,
we have.
Lisa, can I ask a question, Lisa? I have one question I want to ask.
Yes, of course.
So when the process of the citizenships, because someone asked me this yesterday before we started the webinar, how long does it take to obtain a St. Kitts passport? Specifically the real estate pathway, because we know that we have the donation pathway, the bonds and everything for different countries. For St. Kitts real estate pathway, what's the typical duration till I can have my passport in my hand?
I would say typically, actually, we're seeing quite fast approvals in St. Kitts and Nevis now. And when I say fast, I would say after submission, that's when the clock starts ticking. And we're seeing approvals in 3 to 4 months. However, after the approval, the client then has to pay for the property or the donation or
Yeah.
whatever. And then it takes about another, I would say, 1 to 2 months for the passport to actually arrive. Okay, we have two questions here. One question, I think this is for John. The question is, can I bring my family with me? I guess the person is referring to the offer.
Yes, of course. We want your entire family to experience St. Kitts. The 3-bedroom villas have king beds in each room, so 6 adults can sleep very comfortably, and we can always pull out cots or additional bunks for any children that are visiting.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. There are a lot of questions coming in. What are the other pathways except the real estate pathway? I can answer that. So there are two other pathways. It's the government donation, which is the 250,000, and there's something called the PBO, which is the public benefit option, which is also at 250,000. But what we generally tell clients is that if you imagine that 250,000 is dead money, it's gone. However, you pay 325, and as John pointed out in his presentation, you get an ROI over the 7 years of $75,000, and you can sell that property after the 7 years back for 325. So you've received the 75 plus the 325. It's kind of a no-brainer. But the other pathways are the donation option and the public benefit option, both selling at 250,000.
And then,
Then
Lisa, if I could just add that there's no difference in timeline from submission to approval, whether you're purchasing through real estate or donation or PBO. All 3 options give you your citizenship in the exact same amount of time, which is based on your due diligence nothing to do with which option you select.
Okay, great. Thank you. And we have another question. Is there a flexible payment plan for the real estate investment?
Unfortunately not. You have to pay in full as per the citizenship by investment laws here in St. Kitts.
Yeah, yeah, obviously. So it's not like you can take a mortgage on this,
Right.
because if you are paying that off and the government has already given you a passport, what if you default? You're already a citizen. They can't take it away from you. So you've got to pay that in full.
Yeah.
Is the total 325 or some extra add-ups? John?
So good question. We pay all closing costs with the real estate. We try not to hide anything, but if you want to use an approved escrow agent, there is an extra $3,250 for the escrow agent to hold your funds so that you feel comfortable and safe. Because our product is built and approved, we are escrow exempt, but we like working with the escrow agent. They're very efficient and professional. So you're basically looking at 325,000. No additional cost towards the real estate except the 3,251% escrow fee the escrow agent charges.
Okay, so John, I have a question based on that. If the total 325. So I know when you are doing a real estate option as opposed to the government donation, the government fee itself is usually quite large. Are you saying that the government fee is included in this
No,
325?
I'm
Okay.
not. What I meant is from a real estate transaction standpoint. In St. Kitts, we have a 10% stamp duty, transfer tax when we transfer property, and then the legal work to transfer the share, the title deed from my company to the new buyer. There's no additional cost for that. So it really is a 325. The government of St. Kitts has additional government fees depending on how large your family is, which you would pay, which are pretty minor, but they do add up if you have a large family once you're approved citizenship.
So let's say there's a main applicant, a spouse, and a couple kids, which is generally a family composition we see, a family of four. What would the government fee be for that?
I have to confirm, but I believe it's in the $40,000 to $50,000 range on
Yeah,
top of your
I,
citizenship.
I
Yeah, 50,000 to be exact for a
50,000.
husband, wife, and two kids.
Okay, so a family up to four, the government fees on top of the 325 is 50,000. Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, great. Another question, are there taxes in St. Kitts?
No personal income tax. And as I presented in my presentation, one of the benefits of getting real estate is that you get a property, you get title deed, which has a 0.2% property tax. So on 325,000, you have a $650 a year property tax bill that you have to pay the government. But that's a great thing to have because it shows extra ties to St. Kitts. Without a property tax bill, you can't get a tax ID number so that you can open bank accounts like I have with my St. Kitts citizenship in different jurisdictions around the world.
Right, right.
But
I
no
have,
income tax and no tax on the income earned from the unit.
okay, great. And I understand that St. Kitts also has no worldwide tax and they have no inheritance tax and stuff like this.
Correct.
Okay.
It's only if
Uh,
you were trying to open a local business and do something locally that there is some taxes. Basically, St. Kitts makes its money off duties, which in my opinion is very fair. If you want to save your income, you save it, it's all yours. But if you want to buy a luxury Mercedes for 100,000, you're going to be paying a 70% duties when you ship that car to the island. So that's how the government makes its money.
okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, John. So we have another question here. Considering this is not too large a country, how is the tax rate, cost of living, and job market to immigrants? Well, we spoke about the tax. John, I think you can address the cost of living and the job market there. I think it depends on what job they do.
The other benefit, though, to realize is when you get a St. Kitts citizenship, you have the ability to also now work in all the CARICOM countries.
Yeah.
So the head chef is from St. Lucia. but I didn't have to get him a work permit. But if, my general manager who's from Canada, I needed to get a work permit
Yeah.
for argument's sake. Cost of living is actually very affordable. Labor is extremely affordable here in St. Kitts. Well, maybe compared to Nigeria, it's probably close, where minimum wage is 15 EC, just under $6 US an hour. Other than that, I would say it's pretty similar to kind of Florida. We buy everything from the US and ship it in, so there is our shipping costs, but it really isn't too bad.
Okay, thank you so much.
Lisa, sorry, before we move to the next one, I wanted to ask John, the investment in the property, does it generate income for the person that invests?
Yeah, we're looking at about a 3% return, so about 10,000 a year on their purchase if they put their unit in the rental pool. But if they use their 12 days a year, then they would have no income because they're using their real estate. But if they choose not to use it and put it in the rental pool and we rent it out for them at a 75% occupancy, we look at a roughly 3% return of 10,800 a year, give or take.
All right.
Thank you. Next question. What are the visa-free travel benefits of the St. Kitts passport? Pretty much, I have to say, all three of my children have St. Kitts passports. And the passport allows you visa-free travel to the UK, to all Schengen, all the EU. I think China, Hong Kong is there. It's extensive. I think it's somewhere around 156 countries that it allows you. Am I correct, John? Is there anything else, any other?
There is. I think it's been increased. The foreign minister has been working hard. So I think we're almost up to like 167 countries.
Right.
But the only other thing I would add to what you said is, yes, all of those countries are visa free where you have to do nothing before you travel. But getting a 10-year multi-entry visa into Canada is quite easy. The US visa is there's a little more work entailed where you have to go to the embassy in Barbados to apply for your visa to the US. But once you get it, you could get a 10-year visa in your St. Kitts passport. So like a lot of my clients have gotten all of these visas. So even though it's not visa free, it really does give you mobility worldwide. And another thing to add, like my wife, unfortunately, is American, which I tease her about at times.
We won't hold it against her.
She uses her St. Kitts passport when we travel to certain countries out of safety. Yeah. Right? We don't want people knowing she's American or my kids are American. So we use the St. Kitts citizenships passports when we travel, which is another great factor besides the visa-free travel.
Yeah. Speaking of American, John, I actually have a question for you. I saw that maybe a couple of days ago, there was a release about about the finances, because America looks at these countries, they scrutinize them. And now St. Kitts has been kind of taken off that list. So they're all clear. Am I correct?
Yeah, it just essentially the banking system can take an extra few days from what you might be accustomed to in North America or in Europe, because everything when you send US dollars is actually routed through the US. But now St. Kitts has done such a good job, the new government administration, in terms of satisfying any request that any of these foreign powers have, that we're seeing that efficiency really speed up. So when you send a wire, instead of the bank taking 6 days to do due diligence before it's credited to your account, it's now being credited much quicker because they're doing their checks much faster.
Okay, great. I think all of these questions are for you, John. Another question, someone wants to know if the investment is refundable.
No investments are refundable. You're making a purchase to obtain citizenship, and that's why you're getting citizenship is through the purchase of the real estate. When you look at what we did during the pandemic with hiring 300 construction workers, being the only developer that was building, you can see why the government approves real estate for CBI, because it stimulates a lot of tourism, which is the main focus of the island. So I wouldn't have built those villas if I weren't approved for citizenship during the pandemic when everything was so unknown. But I do know that people will always want to migrate. And now look at the world. We're in almost complete chaos. Interest has gone through the roof from Americans, Europeans, from
Yes,
the I mean, it's just gotten extremely busy with
yes,
everything going.
yes. We've been doing some research recently, and we have found that the number one person, nationality that is inquiring about citizenship by investment is Americans.
Yeah.
Number one. Nigeria, number two. Another question.
So
Yeah,
Lisa, I have a question before you ask that. I wanted to ask John about the exit strategy for those that purchase this property. How long do they have to hold it, and eventually, can they sell it off? And when they want to sell it, what happens at that point?
Yeah, so essentially, what's nice about real estate here in St. Kitts for CBI is that when you have to hold it for 7 years. So that is the requirement. You're not allowed to sell your property at year 5 or year 6. So, but once you've owned it for 7 years, that property now is able to be resold to another investor who can obtain citizenship. And to be honest, clients who go through the program, they're the best marketing tools because 99% of our clientele come from referrals of clients who are happy. They purchased, everything's going as we said it would go. They're getting to use their unit, they're getting their rental income, whatever the case may be. And then they have a friend that's also interested in getting citizenship because they saw that they got it. Even though this is now worldwide and very public, that you can make a safe and fun, good investment in a high quality development like ours and obtain citizenship through this investment, a lot of people don't believe it's real until they've actually done it or they know someone that's done it and is holding their passport from the success of it.
Yeah,
okay.
that makes sense. And I wanted to also ask, because Lisa asked about the stay requirement. So I wanted to ask, when it's time for the mandatory interview, does the applicant need to go to St. Kitts or can it be done virtually?
I'm pretty sure it can be done virtually.
All right.
Yeah, because that would be a high request to just travel here for an interview.
Yeah.
So I think they do it on video.
Okay, I have a couple more.
So there's a
So,
question here asking for the
yeah,
costs.
yeah, the cost of the property is $325. Yes, that is correct. And I also have another question. How do I know that St. Kitts is actually the best one? I guess out of the Caribbean.
Yeah, so for the reasons kind of I mentioned in my presentation, it's the only one that does generational citizenship. So your kids will also be able to get it. It's a beautiful island. As my dad said, he fell in love with the island when he came here and spent time here. So the island kind of sells itself, which is why we're making this limited time offer to come here and check it out and see it for yourself. Lastly, it's the longest running program since 1984. So through I think we've had 5 different governments all through that time. They've all supported the program. They've all promoted the program. So there's never been any question in St. Kitts's approach to citizenship by investment or the program that it's launched.
Okay, great. And I would assume that if someone gets the passport, I mean, a lot of people can work virtually, so you can get the passport and live and work in St. Kitts if you can, your job allows you to work virtually.
We have a
So,
lot of wealthy clients that do the 3-4 months in the US, 2-3 months in Canada, 3-4 months in Europe, and then another month of wherever they might call home. And they live the nomadic lifestyle of kind
yeah,
of going
yeah.
everywhere until the tax residency comes into place, and then they switch and move somewhere else.
Do you find you have a lot of retirees there?
Not many retirees, more
Okay,
professional.
okay.
Um, And then, to be honest, it seems like the biggest reason recently is just a backup plan. So, there's a lot of benefits that come if you're from Nigeria with travel and visa-free access, etc. But most Americans and Canadians that are doing it because of the the feel of the overreach of the government and the tensions now in North America politically.
Okay. What about schools? Are there international schools there?
Yeah, my son is 5 years old. He goes to one of the private schools, and there's a bunch of local schools. The schooling's actually very good. It's built off the British system. But we're very happy with it. Kate and my cousins have all had kids grow up through it who are now in college, and they've done very well and are succeeding very well in college. So
Yeah, like I say, my kids they grew up on the British system as well, because we're also they grew up in the Caribbean, and all very successful as well. They've done well on that system.
the British know how to do schooling.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
do.
really, really. And I like to say from Lisa that you don't have to give up your Nigerian passport to obtain a St.
right.
Kitts passport. It's dual citizenship. So you
That's right.
still have a Nigerian passport as well as the St. Kitts passport. As John has said, as Lisa said, you can possess more than one, sometimes two, three. John, how many do you have?
I have 4.
4. Yeah. And another thing I think we didn't touch on, I mean, I haven't seen the question, but it crossed my mind, John. So when someone has to receive their ROI, okay, I mean, I would assume they can receive it anywhere in the world. Is there any country that you cannot send it to, or any?
There might be 1 or 2 countries, but as long as the country can receive US dollars, then we're able to send them a wire transfer. We're also very crypto savvy if they accept stable coins or anything of that nature.
Okay, great. And is it paid quarterly? Is it paid once a year? How is the
It's paid
ROI paid?
once a year in January, at the
Oh,
end of January for the prior year. And then they also receive a statement, and the statement will have every reservation, the nightly rate, um, the number of nights the guest stayed. So you'll see a total breakdown of every dollar of revenue, your maintenance fees, and the net that's coming to you.
okay, great. I have another question. These are my questions. Would you present, for example, like an annual report? Because if a client buys a share, they're in business with you, kind of thing. Is there an
Yeah.
annual report that they will get at the
So
end of the
the one thing, although there's no personal income tax or corporate income tax here in St. Kitts, the one thing the government collects taxes on every month without question is accommodation tax. So if a guest is paying $2,000 a night to stay in a villa, I have to charge them an additional 12% that I pay directly to the government every month. So we have a system called Resort Data Processing that takes all reservations from our over 250 tour operators, Expedia, Travelocity, American Airlines Vacations, British Airways Vacations, etc. And this system is very straightforward. It has every reservation in the system, and there's a report printed at the end of the year which shows exactly how much revenue their unit collected and how much net profit they're entitled to for their payment.
Okay, there's another question. Is there a possibility to buy the villa instead of a share? And if yes, what would the price be?
That is possible, but it would still be the same price. So it would be 30 shares at 325,000, which is 9.75 million.
Okay, thank you.
There's
Okay.
one question.
Well, that was yeah.
Can we have a list of the precise locations where the properties are located? Someone asked that question. John, that's for you. Can we have a list of precise locations where the properties are located? Someone just asked that.
If you like, what I could do is I could share my screen again.
All right, go ahead.
So this is our hotel. It's located in Frigate Bay. It's a 20-acre property. And you'll see villas 601, 602, 603, 604, 605, and 606. It's located right on the first hole golf course. So each villa has its own private golf cart and its own private golf cart parking spot. So if you're wanting to go to the ocean, you have the Atlantic Ocean here, or you have the Caribbean side down here. What's nice about staying in these villas as well is you're not reliant on having to have a car. Your golf cart will basically take care of 80% of the restaurants and places that you might want to attend. If I zoom out farther, you'll see that Frigate Bay is a 5-minute drive from the international airport, about a 7-minute drive from downtown Bastyr. It's where all the business owners, government officials, judges, lawyers, etc., basically keep homes. And then towards the north side of the island is more where like my staff live, because all the nice beaches are in Frigate Bay and on the southeast peninsula. The north side of the island, the beaches aren't too nice. It's what we call black sand rocks, or black sand beaches that are up there. So as I explained, it's kind of where the island starts to get skinny. That's where the tourist section is, where all the tourists and the major hotels, us and the Marriott, are located.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I don't see any other questions coming in. If anyone has any other questions, you can put it in the chat in the Q&A box now, as we're going to wrap up pretty soon. Let me see. Okay, that was the last question that we've seen. Hang on 1 second. I think a question came in. Does the villa have beach access?
So all beaches in St. Kitts and Nevis are public. Our hotel is roughly 1,000 feet from the Atlantic Ocean, which is like a 1-minute golf cart ride from your villa. But the Atlantic does have pretty strong undertows, so I'm comfortable swimming there. But I tell people, if you're not a strong swimmer, the Caribbean side is a much better place to swim, which is like a 5-minute golf cart ride. The villas are located on the first hole golf course, and the Frigate Bay Strip on the Caribbean side is on the third hole golf course. So you just basically have to drive 2 golf holes and you're right at the beach where you can swim.
Okay, and it's safe for kids and stuff like that, yeah?
One of the beauty,
The Caribbean side.
the Caribbean side is, and the island is as well. One thing I like to tell people is, like, I have quite a few billionaire clients who, when they're here, they don't have security for them, their wives and kids. But if they travel to the UK, Paris, or anywhere else, they have full security teams. So St. Kitts is a very safe and enjoyable experience, because everyone here in St. Kitts knows foreign investment, tourism is the lifeline and the lifeblood of the island. So people aren't willing to rob or do anything ridiculous to guests visiting, because the government takes that seriously if they would.
Right, and there are few, I would imagine that St. Kitts will have a lot of maybe restaurants and stuff like that, because I know there are a couple medical universities there as well, right?
Yeah, some large, these are not undergrad schools, these are like posts. So if you want to become a veterinarian or a medical doctor, you go and do your undergrad and then you can come back and attend. And if you're a Kittian, you actually get discounted rates. So that's another benefit to anyone who has kids that may want to go into the medical field. But there is a ton of restaurants, a lot of development. If you're comparing us to Grenada, for example, there's way more infrastructure. We have 7 different restaurants on property at our hotel alone. That's all within walking distance, never mind everything else that's around us.
Okay, great. I think I don't see any more questions. If anyone has any questions, now's the time. Put it in the Q&A box. Hang on a second. Okay. Please go ahead, Daniel. Oh, was this for me? So as we wrap up today, I certainly hope that you found some value with the information. It's a lot of information that has been given. And of course, we remind you about that stay and the boat cruise, which is complimentary. If you're interested, please sign up before April 24th. That's the deadline. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Thank you so much for taking this time out of your day to join us. And that's it for me today. Daniel?
Yeah, I just want to say thank you to everyone that joined today's webinar. And like Lisa said, I hope you got value for your time. Thank you very much, John, for that amazing presentation. We would want to move quickly after now. So like Lisa said, the action steps would be registering. My team would contact you today, tomorrow, till Monday, through to Monday. And you can, after now, you get an email, you get a WhatsApp number, you reach out to us. We'll get everything started. We'll get your form started and applications and everything so that for those that are interested, we could meet John at St. Kitts and have an amazing 4-day stay. Have a beautiful time there. You make your investment, you obtain your second citizenship for yourself, for your family, and then take it up from there. So once again, thank you very much for attending. We would reach out to you certainly. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Thank you.